To make Pokemon LeafGreen hard without having to do a Nuzlocke, I decided to beat it with the worst possible team. The extensive research I did for this was looking up a Smogon tier list, so if you disagree with the team, go argue with Smogon instead of me please. Unfortunately, I can't get any E tier Pokemon until later on, so I'll be using the worst ones I can find for now. Charmander's ranked the same as Bulbasaur, but I picked Charmander as he's much worse for Brock, even though I'm probably not going to use him for that. Anyways, we take on our rival Ramage in the first battle, and we beat him pretty easily, and we start our journey.
Bro, go away, stop yapping.
We catch our first Pokemon, which is a Pidgey, who's actually in the D tier, which is the worst we can do for now, and obviously he dies. And then we catch a Rattata, who's actually only in the C tier. We then catch a Weedle to round out our starter team, as he's in the C tier surprisingly. We boxed Charmander, who is in the B tier, and leveled up everyone to around level 10, as I thought that would be good enough to beat Brock.
Live.
We are now heading to face Brock's gym, and the problem with our team here is that none of them can effectively attack the Rock-type Pokemon in this gym, so we kind of just have to cheese it with Sand Attack, Poison Sting, and also Tail Whip from Rattata. Thankfully that works against the first trainer, because we're about the same level. We did the same thing with the trainer Sandshrew, except it was much easier as Gust actually did damage, unlike it did to the Geodude. We evolved Wold into a Beedrill and hope that using the same method as Sand Attack and Poison Sting should be enough for Brock, as his Pokemon should severely outmatch mine, but we don't want to let that happen. We face our first gym leader, and obviously Brock decides to be annoying as hell using Defense Curl, so we decide to be annoying right back and use Sand Attack to make it as hard as possible for the Geodude to hit any of his moves, because our moves aren't going to do any damage.
Alright. Oh, a crit is tough. Crit is so tough. Do not like that at all, but that's alright. We're going to take it down.
Onix proves to be much more difficult as he's 3 levels higher because I was too lazy to train. Anyways, I had to cheese the battle with Sand Attack, Tail Whips from Rattata, which was his only spotlight for this challenge, and finishing him off with Poison Stings and Flurry Attacks from Woad, who was probably the MVP for this part of the challenge. We're able to beat our first gym leader, and it's only going to get more difficult from here. We continue our journey to Mount Moon, and remember how I said Rattata had a spotlight? Well yeah, he's in the C tier of Pokemon, according to Smogon, and that's too high for us, so he gets banished to the box, and now we have to catch more Pokemon that are only in the D tier.
Let's go.
We catch a Zubat, Jigglypuff, and Paris, and 2 of these Pokemon will be extremely helpful for upcoming rival and gym battles, while Jigglypuff is just kinda there. However, she is able to hold her own for some of the Mount Moon battles. We get our first evolution, which is Beep to Pidgeotto, who has begun to carry this team through this part of the game. The only real battle of Mount Moon is the scientist who's trying to gatekeep a fossil I don't want, and while we don't have any great moves for his team, his Pokemon aren't that good, and Woad the Beedrill is able to take them out with not too much difficulty. Pop the Jigglypuff shows some more usefulness by helping us catch one of her replacements, which is Sandshrew. Now Sandshrew doesn't have that many good uses, but he is a viable counter for electric-type Pokemon. The next important battle as we head in Cerulean is our rival Ramage, and we both lead with our shiny new toy Pidgeottos. And we get the best of his first 2 Pokemon, as one of them is a measly Rattata, who I guess he didn't box by now. Unfortunately, I got too cocky and decided not to heal, while his Squirtle woke up in 1 turn, knocking us out, and we white out for the first time in this challenge, and I guarantee you it is not the last.
Every single move. Nope.
Squirtle is obviously goated, but we get our revenge easily this time, and Zubat shows some of his value as he takes out Abra, who genuinely isn't able to hit us. I've never really understood this part of the game. Anyways, we are able to take out Ramage this time around. We get onto Nugget Bridge and have one of the most entertaining fights you'll ever watch between Paris and Metapod. We make our way to the end to fight the Rocket Grunt, and his 2 Pokemon aren't very challenging whatsoever, as Beep is able to take him out pretty easily.
Bullet Seed.
As you can tell from the excitement in my voice, Bullet Seed is going to be really clutch for us, as we can use it for the trainers on the way to Bill, and we actually have effective moves for Misty, so we don't have to try and cheese the entire battle with Sand Attacks and Poison Stings. After getting the SS Ant ticket from Bill, we head straight to Misty's gym and take on the trainers, which are pretty easy as Bullet Seed will usually take them out in 1 turn, and that means we're ready for Misty.
We're fighting Misty.
We take on Misty, and this battle with Paris shouldn't be too difficult, as Bullet Seed will easily take out the Staryu in 2 turns maximum. The only problem is Staryu's Water Pulse, which of course on the first turn ends up confusing and makes this battle a little more difficult. And of course we do hit ourselves in confusion on the first turn.
If we just hit ourselves 4 times. We don't, thankfully. Jeez, that'd be insane, man. Alright, we killed it. I kind of wanted to be at potion level. That's alright.
As Starmie is a better Pokemon and higher level than us, her Swift is going to do a lot of damage, so I decided to Poison Powder and heal, which would make this battle a lot easier for us, and then Bullet Seed.
Okay, if we can kill here, we got it. Don't hit twice. Hit 3 times. No. Let's go. I don't think a Pokemon's died in either of their first 2 gyms.
After beating Misty, we continue our journey and have to help this hiker get Dig back from the Rocket Grunt. Paris is able to be helpful again, taking out the Grunt's Drowsy, and the hiker lets us keep the Dig TM, but we're actually going to save it for a later Pokemon, which will be much more useful. I keep saying Pop the Jigglypuff was going to get replaced because I actually left it in the daycare and forgot about Pop for the rest of the challenge. We make our way to Diglett's cave and catch a Diglett, which is a D-tier Pokemon and is going to be really helpful for Lieutenant Surge. I really hope there's one person out there that appreciates my nickname for Diglett. Anyways, we make our way onto the SS Anne.
This Diglett kinda sucks, guys.
We run into a rival, and I don't know why we have to see this man in every damn town. Anyways, he thinks he's French for some reason and decides to lead with his trusty Pidgeotto that Queens can't take out that easily because of a crit. Anyways, we have to send out our Pidgeotto, who's obviously the better one. Raticate shows why I was in the C tier, as it's actually pretty good due to its Hyper Fang, but it is a lot lower level than us, so we are able to take it out pretty easily. That might just be because Pidgeotto's overleveled, I don't know. Unfortunately, Kadabra is actually useful this time, and Paris can't be useful for this battle. Our team MVP Beats has to do all the heavy lifting again, and then take on this War Turtle that has Water Gun, but it isn't able to do enough for us, and we're able to take it out. And our reward for beating our rival is getting to rub this sailor's back for some reason, and he throws up, I guess? After the SS Anne, we head into the gym and we stumble upon this sailor who got lost, and Queen's proves to be extremely helpful in taking out these Pokemon with its magnitude. We then figure out the most challenging puzzle I'm able to do and take on Lieutenant Surge. This is the easiest gym battle so far, as Diglett's ground-type moves absolutely cook Surge's Pokemon. Using Magnitude and Dig make this battle really easy. This battle seemed really easy after taking out both Pikachu and Voltorb handily, but unfortunately his Pokemon had Static, which paralyzed Queens. His Raichu was a lot stronger and used Double Team to make this an annoying fight, but thankfully Queens hit on both Dig and Magnitude to help us win this battle against Surge.
6 hits and double teams do not matter. Soon enough.
We go and get the bike, which I actually never end up using, and then take on some trainers next to Vermilion to level up Queens to get ourselves a Dugtrio. This is going to be really helpful, but unfortunately we only have limited time left with Queens, so we gotta make it count. As we make our way to Rock Tunnel, we have to say bye to Shovel, who never really had any great usage, as we make room for our next Pokemon, who's actually in the E tier.
What you can do us a favor. Get on out of here. If you could just go. Thank you. Good job.
Before that, we get another evolution for Snip the Parasect, who's another Pokemon that won't be with us the entire journey, but we're going to enjoy it while it lasts. Besides that, we run into the next member of our team, which is Onyx. He actually causes us some trouble, so I wonder if Smogon's E tier ranking was actually fair, but I guess we're going to find out. It seems like every time we catch a new Pokemon, someone's right there to teach us a new move, which is very needed, as Rock Slide is going to make Onyx a lot more useful in many battles coming forward. The rest of Rock Tunnel is pretty easy, and we make our way out to Lavender Town. We head into Lavender Tower, and of course we see our rival Ramage yet again. This man will not leave us alone. Onyx shows that he's actually not as bad as people might say when he takes out Gary's Pidgeotto that's 8 levels higher. Even with our rival's decision to use annoying moves like the draw, Parasect delivers 5 big booms to Gary's Wartortle, and I begin to question why this man keeps challenging me to fights when he obviously knows he's gonna get cooked. His Growlithe is no different as we roll it. Magnitude 10, which is just overkill, but you're not going to see me complain. And a wing attack from Beep takes out his Execute that's useless for the time being, but won't be in future battles, so we're going to take advantage of this for now. One Pokemon that's not useless is his Kadabra that takes out Woad, who's kind of been left in the dust. Snip was able to take it out pretty easily, and we send our rival home crying. After beating our rival, we decide to take our winnings and celebrate with some gambling. The true reason for this is that the next permanent member of our team is only available through the casino, and I had to do so much gambling for this. I did take some breaks and did other parts of the story in between gambling because it took so long. Part of this break included beating the Rocket Grunt in order to access this basement, and our Onix proves to be pretty useful for this part of the game. But obviously I can't decide where I want to go, so I go get the Fly TM as it'll be pretty useful for the upcoming gym battle and just getting around with Pidgeot. So then I head back to the Rocket Basement and take on some of these goons, and honestly they're not too difficult because we got our trusty Onix who's able to use Rock Slide and Rock Throw, which makes a lot of these battles pretty easy. And honestly I lied about Surge's gym being the hardest puzzle I could do because clearly I'm improving and figure out this one, so I can find my way to take on the big bad boss Giovanni, who's going to be a much more difficult test than a lot of the battles we've had so far.
Alright, Giovanni, whatever you say, you're getting cooked. It's really nothing, man.
Giovanni decides to lead with his Onix, and so do I, and as much as I want to do an Onix v Onix, I wasn't going to let that happen, so I switched into Snip, who has Bullet Seed and makes this battle a lot easier. Snip's able to take care of the first 2 Pokemon with Bullet Seed, and then after that it gets pretty tricky.
Let's go.
His Kangaskhan proves to be much harder to face, but we still should have had this in the bag. However, it decides to land back-to-back crits, which unfortunately knocks out our Onix, which makes this battle a lot more annoying. Thankfully, we still have the team MVP to carry us and bring us to victory against Giovanni.
Let's go.
Giovanni's pretty chill with us, and we take our battle winnings straight to the casino. And if there's any gambling companies out there wanting to sponsor, yes, I will sell out for you. No questions asked. We get the Silph Scope and take on this Ghost Marowak, which is actually pretty challenging as Bullet Seed did a whole lot of nothing. Thankfully, Queens is able to clutch, and we're able to finish off the other battles with Onix in the tower and move on with our journey. The old man we meet at the end of the tower brings us to his house or something for the Pokeflute, and we take on Snorlax. Snorlax is actually hard as hell to fight, so I just decided to put him to sleep and run away instead of trying to fight him anymore. We head off to take on Erica's Grass-type gym and realize that Beep the Pidgeotto is severely overleveled for these trainers.
I forgot Weepinbell existed. It's kind of the GOAT.
After taking on like 2 of the trainers because of how easy they are and how overleveled we are, we face off with Erica, and we find out we're still pretty overleveled, but just with Beep, thankfully. We're able to take out her first 2 Mons pretty easily with Fly and Wing Attack, and the only way I almost lost this battle was because I decided not to heal for the longest time, and a crit from her Vileplume with Acid would have killed. Thankfully that didn't happen, and we were able to take out Erica. Of course, to celebrate after the fight, we have to spend all our winnings and do some good old-fashioned gambling. And after so much of it, we're able to buy another E-tier Pokemon for 6,500 coins, and that is Porygon.
Dedication, because you gotta be dedicated to gamble.
Of course, to make room for dedication, we have to say our goodbyes to Steer the Zubat and head out to test Porygon against some biker goons, which doesn't work out too well, so we have to turn to our team MVP, Pidgeotto, once again.
Our Pidgeotto's evolving. Let's go! We got a Ditto!
This part of the game is where we rack up all of our E tier Pokemon and we get the worst of them all, Ditto, which we named Loop. Unfortunately, this means we have to get rid of a useful Pokemon in our Doug trio. Thankfully, we have a replacement in Solid the Onix. Speaking of our Onix, we have to head to the Safari Zone for many reasons, but one of them is to get a decent HM for Solid, which is the move Strength. I wish that was the only reason though, but no, we have to get our next E-tier Pokemon, which is...
I didn't mean to try and catch an Execute, and of course I did.
Yeah, unfortunately it's not Execute, but I did run out of money for the Safari Zone, so I have to run to Koga's gym and beat up his trainers for money, but that was actually a lot harder than I thought it would be. We pay our money and find our real next team member, which is Chansey, who has a 4% encounter rate and will run away from you if you throw a rock at it, feed it, or don't catch it with a ball on the first try. Thankfully, I got back-to-back Chansey encounters, so it made it a little less harder to bear, but thankfully this one stays in the ball, and we named the Chansey Rock because it deserves rocks being thrown at it. Our next mission is to take on Team Rocket and Sofco, and there were a couple annoying battles where Snip and Solid showed amazing teamwork to take on a Magneton and some other annoying ass Pokemon. But of course, waiting for us near the end is our annoying ass rival who's always ahead of us, and his team has significantly improved. But of course, when I say that, I don't mean his Pidgeot, who gets absolutely bodied by Solid like always. Even though we have Snip, Blastoise proved to be challenging and it takes some help from Peep, going back to our roots and trying to cheese the battle, while he also cheesed the battle with Protect, so we just tried to fight fire with Sand Attack, and this battle got really annoying. We couldn't use Fly because obviously he was going to Protect and he was landing double Protects, and his Water Guns were going to do a lot, but thankfully we were able to take him out with a Wing Attack. Thankfully, his next two Pokemon are easily taken out, as Solid has become a much better Pokemon and takes out his Growlithe, while Beep takes out the Execute with some easy wing attacks, and we move on to his last Pokemon. While Alakazam has improved from the Abra it once was, it only used Future Sight as an attacking move, and Snipple is able to take it out with the use of Leech Life and Cut, and we are able to defeat our annoying ass rival. After our rival fight, we then have a more challenging fight with Giovanni. He decides to leave with Nidorino, and Nidorino is pretty easy as we taught Dig to Solid, but his Nidorino does go down like a fighter because he poisons us as he dies. He sends out Nidorino, who is higher leveled and a much bigger challenge, as his Body Slam paralyzed me, but thankfully it was just an idiot who used Poison Sting instead of Body Slam more often, and we were able to do serious damage with Dig and then kill it with his Strength, just barely living. I thought his Kangaskhan would be quite the challenge, but since it was lower leveled and missed its attack, Beep was able to take it out very easily.
I don't even know if it's the right move. He's gonna die here. Blast ain't gonna work. Onix has been way better than what Smogon thinks he is. You get him some TMs and he's a goat.
Giovanni didn't end up being too difficult, and we get the Master Ball that I actually never end up using. We leave Sofco and take on some jugglers in Koga's gym, which meant it was Snip's time to shine, one of the first since Cerulean, and a mix of Bullet Seeds and Leech Lives were able to take out the Pokemon in this alleged poison gym. I mean, there's Psychic types and there's Ground types. I didn't see too many Poison types. We had to take on the guy with the actual Poison types, Koga, and that is where the real challenge for this gym starts. But his coughing isn't that big of a problem.
Nice. Awesome. Oh. Onix tanked that, so...
Now we have a real Pokemon in Muck that I'm scared of, as he minimized a few times to make it much harder to hit him, so I used Spore with Snip and let Solid do the damage with Dig. Just as we're about to kill him, Koga uses a Hyper Potion and Muck decides to minimize more to make this battle even worse. Oh, and he poisoned us.
Because we got a max revive.
Let's go! He's the GOAT! We got the crit!
that gonna kill? It's kind of easy for him to just survive these. How many? Does he have another Pokemon?
Yes, he did have another Pokemon, which was his ace, Weezing, who's a lot higher leveled, and his Sludge didn't do a lot, so we were able to kill him with Rock Slide. We weren't able to use Dig, obviously, due to his Levitate ability, but thankfully we were able to defeat Koga and move on to the next part of our journey. Our next part of the journey is actually just another gym. We actually topped the feat of our last puzzle and are able to figure this one out while taking on these psychic type trainers with Snip, who does a pretty good job either using Bullet Seed or Leech Life and taking them out with relative ease. The only problem is that Snip doesn't do that much damage, so while this is good enough for some measly gym trainers, fighting Sabrina after figuring out an exhausting puzzle like this one will be pretty difficult. Start our battle against Sabrina, and she sends out her Kadabra, who is annoying as hell and uses Reflect, but our Leech Life is able to do a good amount of damage, and this battle is off to a pretty good start.
What are we talking about, man? What are you talking about? You bum.
Yeah, so she decides to switch out into Venomoth, who we have to counter with Solid, but her Psybeam does a lot with a crit. We're still able to take it out with a couple of Rock Slides, thankfully, and move on to the next Pokemon.
Oh my god, stop with the future sight. Learn to play the game. Hell yeah.
Her Mr. Mime decides to be annoying too and set up against us with the Calm Mind, which leads to her hitting us with a powerful Psybeam, getting us to be confused, and then having a future sight hitting, and then we die to confusion.
Confused. Don't hit yourself, don't hit yourself. No.
Beep comes in against Mr. Mime to finish the job, but next in is her ace Alakazam, and we have to try and use Phi. But the Psychic is obviously going to do a lot, and one that can kill us in 2 turns. But thankfully, our Fly can also kill in 2 turns, but unfortunately, we tried a quick attack and kill after she healed, and that was a bad idea because the Psychic kills us. So we have to turn to Rock the Chansey, who's 17 levels lower, and she heals, so we obviously have to revive Beep. He's able to kill this time around. That's it for Sabrina, and now we have to go back through this annoying ass puzzle and actually say goodbye to Beep, only for the time being, as we need a Surf Pokemon, and I didn't allow myself to give up any of the E-tier Pokemon, as that'd be pretty dumb. And we also try to get some levels up for Dedication, who really needs to be important. With Surf, we can actually get our next and final teammate, but it's not actually the Pokemon I'm catching, but you'll find out shortly why we have him. We enter the Burnt Mansion and try to train up our new Pokemon to evolve them, but these Raticates are actually the most annoying Pokemon ever.
An Oranberry?
We have another challenging puzzle on our hands that we are able to get through and get the secret key, so we're able to enter Blaine's gym. But of course, before that, we have to evolve Bait the Slowpoke, who was a really good temporary teammate, and find the guy who really wants to get him for our final team member. We meet this guy next to Fuchsia, and we have to do a trade with him. And I do have to say, the animation for this is really cool, which I guess makes up for giving up one of our best team members so far. We finish the trade and get a Lickitung named Mark for some reason. I have no idea why they named him this, but we teach him Surf, which is going to be really clutch for Blaine's gym. The thing about Mark is that he's actually really good with his Surf and can take out these Pokemon pretty easily. He also gets boosted experience for every Pokemon he takes out. We pass all of Blaine's challenging quizzes and take on the man himself, and he leads with a Growlithe that gets absolutely cooked by a Surf from Mark, even though it's 4 levels higher than us. His next Pokemon is a Ponyta that actually is able to take out Dedication.
Oh, you missed. Wait, the Fire Blast probably could have killed. I'm not locked in. I am not locked in. Well, maybe not. Maybe we can just mosey our way through. Surely that won't kill. didn't. I said it wouldn't, and it didn't.
We take out his Ponyta and its evolution, even if there was some struggle on the latter half. And also our buddy Mark gains a boatload of EXP. But unfortunately it can't make up for the 8 levels in difference between us and his Ace Arcanine that does a shit ton of damage with his Fire Blast. And of course he crits with Takedown and eventually is able to take out Mark, so we have to go to one of our backups for this battle. Arcanine does a lot even with a bite against Solid, but that doesn't matter as we're able to take him down with a dig and get out of this battle against Blaine. We get ambushed by our old friend Bill who wants to take us to these islands, and I said yes without realizing I actually didn't have to. However, it was a pretty good idea as there are a lot of trainer battles to level up from there. The only problem is this team has some major flaws as dedication isn't that strong even against fighting types, but thankfully Gloop is able to clutch up for once in this challenge. We run into these biker goons, which are the only name they're genuinely given, and dedication holds its own this time as we are able to send these cowards running home. Biker potions. We run into this strange Hypno and we have to save Lost L, and thankfully Mark is there to save the day from this absolute weirdo. Our next part of the journey is the final gym, and even the trainers in this one are really challenging. But Mark and his surfing abilities are there to help us out, even when these damn trainers decide to use hyper potions.
A hyper potion? Are we serious?
I try to see if dedication is up to the challenge, and it is for some Pokemon like Nidoqueen, but then it proceeded to get bodied by Machoke, so our new team MVP, Mark, had to clutch up for us once again. I feared for what was ahead as I knew Giovanni was going to be a lot harder than these trainers that are already really difficult.
Bam! Bam! Giovanni, we've beaten you twice. At the end of the day, you're cooked.
He leads off with Rhyhorn, who I wasn't too scared of, but it was able to do damage with Earthquake, but we do body it with a Surf. Dedication was up to the challenge against the last Nidoqueen, but this one was a much different story as it got a damn crit. Thankfully Solid is there to save the day with a dig, except for the fact that Nidoqueen uses Earthquake while we're underground and one hits. But of course, we have to bring in Team MVP Mark, who comes to surf, spam some desperate hyper potions, and take out Nidoqueen with his massive foot. Next he sends out a Nidoking who is a little scarier, and dedication can't deliver as it gets another damn crit. But as we all know, the GOAT Mark is still here, who is able to take out Nidoking with Surf, withstanding Earthquakes, and Dog Trio in one hit with Surf. I was hating on Mark when I got him, but it turns out he's really one of the team MVPs. And then he sends out his level 50 Rhyhorn, who lands another damn crit against us.
I mean, who else? I mean, why would we not get a crit? But we're still gonna kill. We're still gonna one hit because Mark's the GOAT. I think we're gonna sweep with Mark if I didn't try to like TM26. Hell yeah.
So after beating the big boss man, he gives it Earthquake and we decide to teach it to our guy Solid. And as we're walking up to Victory Road, we run into our damn rival once again. This man really won't leave us alone.
Potion here? No. Kind of surprising. Definitely expected him to, but it's not my decision.
His Pidgeot is easy like always, but then we get his Blastoise, and it's time like these where we miss the help of Snip. He rain dances, and even his water guns are doing a shit ton of damage, and Mark isn't able to do much, and neither is Beep. We go back to our old methods and try to cheese it with Sand Attack, but even Beep gets taken out by Blastoise. Thankfully, dedication puts in some work with Psybeam and lands a Confusion, which was huge for this fight.
Okay, so we get like 2 potential chances to not get hit by an attack. Oh, that was quick. And he hits, and he kills because of crit.
So right now we have to put our faith in Rock while we heal the others, and Rock is able to tank his hits and deal some damage with Double Slap, which is a lot more than I was expecting him to do. But unfortunately, he barely lives and Rock gets knocked out, so now it's time to rely on the others.
They just wear off after a while. It's probably gonna kill. It doesn't, thankfully. Jeez, what a second Pokemon.
And of course, Mark is there to take out his Rhyhorn with such ease that I don't know what it's doing on the battlefield with us. And then, of course, Mark's able to tank a takedown from our rival's measly Growlithe, who we then knock out easily with a Surf. His next Pokemon is an Execute, who is now a lot bigger of an issue as it has a good move in Solar Beam, but thankfully it didn't do too much to Mark and he was able to stomp it out as we heal spammed a little bit. Thankfully we got a lucky miss, which meant Mark was able to take it out. His Alakazam was also a bit of an issue as none of Mark's were really doing a lot. I tried Knockoff and Surf and none of them did that much damage, but our rival ended up being kind of an idiot and he spammed Future Sight and Disable when he could have killed instead.
Future Sight? As your last move? What are you talking about? Trying to kill us after the battle?
We defeated our rival for the millionth time, and now it was time for the last stretch of our journey, which was to show all of our badges and head to take on a challenging victory road. But of course, we had to pick up a Citrus Berry first. When I said challenging, I meant it. I believe this was the first wild Pokemon we run into, and Dedication gets absolutely destroyed by a Machoke, but one of the first trainers is actually even worse, as his Charizard ends up wiping out our whole team. It was actually really annoying knowing that I'm not ready for Victory Road, let alone the Elite Four, but thankfully Solid adventures against the Charizard as no one beats us 2 times. Of course, we have to do another puzzle, and apparently I'm getting really good at these, and we continue to beat some of these trainers, like this Golduck, and this weird guy who says he got whipped. You just lost, buddy. We continue on and face an Executor who was quite the struggle here, but will be an even bigger struggle later on. Also, every time Rock leveled up, it said it was evolving, and then just didn't. I guess this is because I didn't have the national dex, but like, why do the animation every time? Our last part of Victory Road is this double battle, and it's against Nidoqueen and Nidoking. They're pretty annoying, but for the last battle in Victory Road, it actually wasn't too difficult, but that's probably because we have good counters to them with Solid and Mark. We're goated enough to take them out and move on with our journey. I actually thought this guy would be our last battle, but he actually just wanted to teach us Double Edge. I decided not to, as the risk for this move greatly outweighed the reward in my opinion. I had some things I needed to do before heading to the Elite Four, which was teaching Psychic to Dedication and return to Rock. I then had to do a lot of grinding. I got everyone to around level 55 and used the rare candies we found on the journey to get them just a little higher. As you can see here, I genuinely couldn't bring myself to level up Gloop, so he's actually going to stay the way he is, and Beep was actually not going to stay on the team as I wanted to try this with only the E tier Pokemon to see if I could do it, and I didn't want to overuse Beep. I wanted to show you guys every move my team has, what level they are, and what TMs I taught them, so here you go. We only have 4 real usable Pokemon, but there's some demons, so I have pretty good faith in us. Also, I did end up leveling up Gloop a little bit more. With all the courage we can muster up, we head to take on the Elite Four and see if the supposed worst Pokemon in the game are up for the challenge. We start our Elite Four challenge and take on the first of the Elite Four members, which is Lorelei and her Ice and Water types. We taught Brick Break to Mark for this very battle, and she leads off with her level 52 Dugong that we severely outleveled. Brick Break is doing a decent amount, so everything is looking good, until she decides to use Ice Beam, and unfortunately, she gets a freeze. But thankfully, Mark is able to thaw out in a reasonable amount of time and take down her first Pokemon. For her next Pokemon, she sends out her Cloyster, and apparently luck is not on our side, as she gets 2 Protects off in a row, and we are not able to attack with Brick Break.
Okay, we're just withdrawing Pokemon now. Great. Lapras? That's not good. I don't know. Oh.
The battle gets even worse when she withdraws and we surf right into a water-absorbed Lapras. We send out Dedication to poison the Lapras right after she confuses so we can get it damaged every turn. One of her Lapras' moves is Body Slam, and of course that paralyzes, so there's 2 chances each turn that we are unable to land a move and end up hitting ourselves, which of course it happens. Thankfully, the poison kills off the Lapras, and I'm being serious when I say we didn't land a single attacking move against her Lapras. Her Cloyster comes back, and Mark is strong enough to swiftly knock it out with a Brick Break this time around.
It doesn't kill. The hail is gonna kill. Alright.
Her next Pokemon is the Slowbro that could have been the one that we traded away, and it's come back with a vengeance. Its yawns make this battle really annoying. We send out Rock to minimize and put up a light screen, and try to slowly kill it with Return, even though she started spamming full restores, which wasted our PP that's scarce and extremely valuable. We also tried to use Egg Bomb, but that did a whole lot of nothing, but thankfully the light screens were extremely valuable in defending from the Slowbro's ice beams.
There's still another Pokemon. I don't remember what it is. It might be Jinx.
She sends out Jinx, but this one was pretty easy, and Rock shows her value, and now we have to move on to take on Bruno with his fighting and rock types.
Bruno, the Elite Four.
Bruno is probably the easiest Elite Four member and underleveled compared to Mark because of the experience boost, and he's able to tank an Earthquake from Onix and one hit with a Surf.
Okay, this is actually fine then. As long as we get it to Psychic type. Nice.
As you can see, I was trying to use Conversion to get a stab boost on the Psychic moves I used, and that backfired and turned Dedication into a Poison type, but it didn't end up mattering as we make him waste a full restore and are still able to take out the Hitmonchan with a Psybeam. Mark then makes quick work out of his next Onix by knocking him out with a Surf in one hit.
Please don't kill. No. Okay, it doesn't. I didn't even see if we got the Psychic type or not. We do, and we one hit.
His last Pokemon is a Machamp that was definitely going to kill us, but thankfully it missed a Cross Chop, and we were able to finish him off with a Psychic and beat Bruno to move on to the next Elite Four member. We challenged the next member, which is Agatha, who started reminiscing about the good old days with Professor Oak, who apparently left her to work on the Pokedex. Anyway, she leads with her Jengar.
Here's the move here. He has Levitate? Are we fucking serious, dude? This game. Okay, we hit the Rock Slide anyways, which is pretty cool. This is the most annoying fucking Pokemon ever. Use our Pecha Berry. Nice.
As you can see, this battle got really annoying, but thankfully Solid is able to take out her Jengar with another Iron type.
And Iron Tail is actually really bad. But we're gonna hit both Earthquakes, so we're completely fine.
Her Golbat was slightly challenged to us, but thankfully enough Rock Slides were able to kill and get the job done.
Listen, buddy, please. This guy doesn't have any freaky double teams, thankfully.
Right as we were about to kill Haunter, she decides to heal, which sucked. She put us to sleep with Hypnosis, and I was smart enough to wake up Solid, as it used Dream Eater, which could have been really, really bad.
We made the perfect move there. Alright, hell yeah. Oh hell yeah. Oh hell. Get the crit. That's what I'm fucking talking about, man. That doesn't do a lot. We're probably gonna have to switch out eventually. Oh, yikes. Well, I don't think he's gonna do that much.
Her last Gengar wasn't that big of a deal, and Mark is able to knock it out with a Surf, meaning we have beaten the third member of the Elite Four, Agatha. I decide to use the last Ether I have on Rock's return, and then we make the long and daunting walk, sped up, to the last member of the Elite Four, Lance with his Dragon types. He leads with his Gyarados, and we lead with Rock, but before we can do anything, we get Hyper Beamed and are forced to watch Rock's HP drop slowly all the way down to 0. We send out Dedication so we can land a Toxic, and Gyarados hits us with another Hyper Beam, but thankfully Dedication is able to tank it unlike some other Pokemon, and thankfully we're able to knock it out with Poison damage and Psychic combining to knock out the Gyarados. For some reason he has an Aerodactyl, but honestly that made this battle a lot easier as Mark the GOAT is able to use Surf and knock it out pretty easily, even though it has H Empowered that did a lot. His next Pokemon is a Dragonite that definitely is able to cause problems for us. It uses Hyper Beam that we're able to tank, and then an Outrage that we also survive. Thankfully, these two moves do have side effects, as you have to recharge after Hyper Beam, and you also become confused due to fatigue after a few Outrages.
If it can hurt itself again? It does hurt itself again. He's probably gonna go for the full restore. No. Oh. He uses Outrage again. Gets a crit and kills. If it didn't get a crit, we would be fine.
He sends out his Dragonair who causes problems with Outrage, so we decided to try and poison it with Toxic. Unfortunately, he has damn Shed Skin, but gets confused, which makes this battle a lot easier. It decides to Dragon Rage, which obviously only does 40 damage, and he full restores right before we get to knock it out. But unfortunately, he gets smart and decides to use a Hyper Beam, but thankfully the recharge makes it a bit easier to kill, so we're able to take him out with a Psychic. Only to realize his next Pokemon is just another Dragonair. Time to do it all over again. This time he uses an Outrage to get himself confused, and that was really clutch for us as we ran out of Psychics, so we have to hope a Psybeam is enough to finish the job, which it is, which means we've beaten Lance, the final member of the Elite Four. Lance tells us we have one more challenger to face, and we have to heal up our team after that bloodbath, as well as restore the PP for some of these moves. I had one revive left, and instead of using it to revive Luke, I saved it for in the champion battle. I taught Mark Fire Blast as I know he has an Execute, which would be useful for. We walk into the last battle and find out the champion is our rival, Ramage, who we're fighting for the billionth time. But here we go, it's the final battle. He leads off with his Pidgeot like always, who starts sand attacking because he knows he's cooked. Anyways, Rock Slide is doing a lot, but he lands a Feather Dance to lower our attack and then full restores. But I actually wanted him to do this as this is the easiest Pokemon for me to take down, which we were able to do with a crit Rock Slide, and finally the crits are on our side and in the champion battle of all places.
That's what we love to see.
His second Pokemon is a Rhydon that we've destroyed this entire game, and I was never too afraid of, but he did deal some serious damage with an Earthquake. Thankfully Mark's strong enough to one-hit him with a Surf, and things are looking pretty good so far.
Okay, let's see how much this does. We tank that. Let's go. Let's actually go.
Rock's fight with Alakazam is off to a good start, as we're tanking his hits and we use Minimize on Light Screen to make it tough on him. However, our moves don't do as much as he put up a Reflect. As he heals up, I know that he's close to running out of Psychics, so we can try and kill him as his Future Sight is the only attacking move that he has. Thankfully for us though, his Future Sights also were failing, so that meant it was smooth sailing and a few more returns to knock out his Alakazam, and thankfully we were able to do that. As I foreshadowed a few times, he sends out his executor that will do its best to end our run at champion, and we have to go back to our roots and try to cheese this battle, putting up some light screens and minimizing so he can't hit his attacks. Enjoy this moment where we both just keep missing our attacks. And it went on for even longer. I actually cut out some of the moves. It was kind of crazy. Our light screens weren't there to do anything once an egg bomb actually hit, but we stay alive and decided to stop cheesing and send out Mark to try and finish off this Pokemon. But before even using a move when we sent out Mark, I thought it would be smart to make full use of all of our items. I used a Dire Hit, an X Special, and I believe an X Accuracy to make sure we had this one in the bag. And for this entire battle, I started to believe karma was on our side, because not only do we land the Fire Blast, but we get a crit. I'm not sure if it mattered, but I'll for sure take it. His next Pokemon is an Arcanine who can do some serious damage with his flamethrowers, but we can send it right back to the Surf. We also get lucky as he sometimes uses Extreme Speed instead, which makes this battle a lot easier. Thankfully, it takes one more Surf and we're able to knock out his Arcanine and move on to the final Pokemon. His next and final Pokemon is the starter we all know and love, Blastoise, who actually outlevels Mark. He rain dances and begins to do a significant amount of damage with Hydro Pump.
We got the crit. Okay, apparently he's just not going to miss Hydro Pump. Oh, he gets a crit. Damn it, dude. Okay.
Mark goes down and we have to rely on Rock to do what she does best and cheese with Minimize and Light Screen. Thankfully that does work a bit, and our plan here was actually to make Blastoise waste all of its useful moves, which includes Hydro Pump and I'm not really sure what else. We know he has Bite, but thankfully that wasn't going to do a lot to any of our Pokemon except for Dedication if he converted into a Psychic type.
I don't know if he's going to use like Bite or something. Interesting, yeah. Kinda does a lot.
We have to go right back to Rock after Solid couldn't do much to do some more cheesing, but what I didn't know was that his other move was Skull Bash, making this battle instantly a lot harder as Rock gets immediately knocked out and the cheesing ends here.
Okay, maybe we have a chance here. Just Bite, we might live another. No, it's not gonna do enough. Oh, it might. Okay, wait. Please heal enough. Please heal enough. Please heal enough. Okay, I don't think he's gonna use a full restore. Okay. His defense is gonna rise. But we're gonna use Psychic. He's gonna kill on this turn. We still have Onyx left. Okay. Let's go!
And as you guys just witnessed, we beat our rival to become the Pokemon League champion. Also, we got another hilarious visual of Rock unfortunately failing to evolve. I was actually so excited after beating the rival because I had multiple other failed runs of this battle, as I didn't prepare for it like I did with this one. As you can see, I was able to beat the game with the alleged 5 worst Pokemon in the game. One thing I noticed about these guys was that none of them evolve in this game, and another thing was they're all pretty difficult to find throughout the game. However, they were actually all really useful and not even that bad of Pokemon. Even Gloop, he was there a couple times, which is honestly more than I expected.
Hey, Onyx, Solid, let's go! Dedication, we gambled for you. Mark, we traded for you, you're actually the GOAT of this challenge. Rock, the MVP of the final battle, and then Gloop the Ditto, was used as a sacrifice, so you know what? See you, Gary. Or Ramage. Well, Ramage is the GOAT.
If you guys enjoyed this video, please let me know in the comments and consider liking and subscribing. Thank you.